Welcome to R2K Outdoors. Kyle Peterson, and this year's the man. This year
It was a hell of a year.
I mean, let's just look at that.
3 years.
3 years, man. It was amazing. I mean, I got to see all the trail camera pictures every year, and we bounced a lot of ideas around trying to figure him out. But
Yeah, it was, I don't know, it was frustrating, stressful.
it was awesome, though.
In the end, it was well worth it.
Oh yeah. So I guess we'll just start this off with when you first noticed this deer and you know what you were thinking at that time, and you go from there.
Yeah, it was, what have it been, 19? Season of,
No.
8? Huh?
Yeah, 19. Sorry, not bad.
Yeah. The summer of 19? Yeah. And I don't know, I'd have to go back and look, but I think it was July-ish, you know, I started to take notice of him, and then it was, I don't know, there was one picture, I don't know if I don't have it saved anymore, but there was one picture, like, I got a couple does, and then you've seen something way off in the back. I was like, huh. It was corn that year, so it was, you know, he's hard to see, and zoomed in on it, and I was like, that's a nice deer. Well, then the picture started rolling in, you know, he was frequently on the mineral all summer, and I was like, I bounced it off of you, I bounced off Marcus, and, you know, a couple other guys, and they're like, man, that deer looks, we were like, it looks young. And I had him aged, and he came back at 5.5, you know, so he was a 3.5-year-old deer when this was the year, you know, he was, you know, I can't remember what we scored that shed as, but we set upper 140s, you know, 150, you know, as a 3.5-year-old, and I was like, man, that deer he's gonna be a stud. So, didn't follow him, you know, around on cameras and stuff, just ran my cameras in my normal scrapes and pinch points and stuff, but I seen him, I can't remember what it was, I think the 7th or 8th of November that year. It was tough, you know, at that time I hadn't shot anything, you know, but around that size, you know, a nice deer, and I was like, man, I said that was tough, but it's obviously worth it. That's what happens when they get to, you know, he was nice the next year too, you know, that's when I started to target it. But.
So we knew from 19 going into 20, early 20s when he found the shed, we knew that this deer was going to be something that you're going to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
but did you expect what he blew up into?
No, I was like, you know, he has a, you know, at that age, I was like, he has a chance to be something nice. But there's you know, there's, you know, a lot of deer, it happens, everybody gets, you know, excited on a deer, and then gets, you know, let down. It don't happen all the time, but it happens a lot. And seeing that, I was just like, he's got that split, you know, and it's just, I figured he could be something. And just what he did in that year, you know, in easy 30 inches, 35 inches, you know. And it was like, wow, I couldn't believe that. I don't have the sheds, you know, of in between here, but you know, I seen a shed of it. You know, it's
impressive.
Yeah, shed's impressive. I actually seen that deer. How many times did I see it?
It was
I don't know. We'll get into that, but so.
Yeah. So, anyways, going through summer of 20, the velvet picture started rolling in, and I remember getting a text. You said you're gonna go do some scouting, and
Yeah, you know, I only had one kid at that time, a wife and the kid, you know, they went to bed, it was summertime, and I was like, man, I'm gonna go out in this last half hour of, you know, daylight just to see, and there's you know, where I seen him at, you know, I can see another hayfield in the distance, and I was just gonna go look and see, and, you know, I friggin' decided to pop a beer, and I sneak my way up, and I'm like, holy shit. I got where it was, and I never expected to see that deer where he was at. You'll see the video, and people that know, you know who I am and know where you know, they'll know where I'm at. But
unbelievable.
yeah, it was. I couldn't believe it. Like he was right. You know, he was right there. He really didn't have a care in the world.
no. But the thing is, it wasn't even just him.
No,
there was
another nice one that was out there.
That was unreal. Like just getting a text message that he's right here. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like, never the least expected spot. I mean,
that was wild. And then, so you watched him all the way going up towards season on the trail cameras. You know, you got around closer to season. You went hardhorn.
yeah, and he was still frequenting.
Oh
You know, this bean field got planted late, and it was still pretty green. You know, going in, you know, not pretty green, I guess. It had some green in it, still going into the, you know, I'd say the last 2 weeks of September, and I was like, man, he's still daylighting in there. Well, then, like, man, it got pretty dry, and they ended up picking that, like, everything dried out real quick, and they ended up picking that kind of early, you know, but, you know, I had the last 2 days of September, he was still, you know, daylight going to this field, and I had a stand, you know, I put a stand up there, you know, early in the summer, just because I was like, oh, maybe there's just some chance that, you know, I could catch him there. Didn't really, you know, I didn't really have any interest in trying to push in and hunting him that early, you know, he wasn't frequent, but he was, you know, maybe once a week he was daylight, but just no pattern, though. And so I went out on a doe mission, and I get out of my stand and get back, and I was like, man, I had a whole bunch of cell cam pictures, you know, on that field. Sure enough, he was out there in daylight, October 1st, you know. But got a doe down, and was like, well, all right, you know, I'm gonna start trying to push my way in that way. Well, the next cold front, you know, me and Marcus went and sat in that stand, and we didn't see him. We seen another really nice buck that night, and then a couple of young bucks that were pretty promising also. So I was like, well, I'm gonna keep hunting this stand. You know, it's gonna happen. Well, he just kind of went MIA, and this, he was bedded extremely close to that, you know, that
He was
stand
just watching
and
you
just
walk.
watching me, you know. With him being out there so much in daylight, actually it was 3 nights in a row. He was daylight, you know, going up to the first, but just not on the cell camera, on a different camera. So that's the only thing I can think of is he ended up, because I quit getting pictures of him for, I can't even remember how long it was.
Right.
You know, by going and hunting that stand, and then I got a picture of him, and then went in there and tried to hunt him, you know, that evening. And
Well,
then he just disappeared for a little while.
right, and then I know, like we had talked about the buck he shot last year, the G3 buck. Like that, it's a big deer, and you were on the fence about him,
Right.
and then he walked out,
Yeah.
and you took him, so that eliminated your bow tag,
Right.
and you got the old COVID.
Yeah. So I had a doe tag in my pocket still. You know, I went and got it. Actually, I think I went and got another one, or I had one. I can't remember. But so I was out. I had COVID. I decided to go out Thanksgiving morning since I couldn't go Thanksgiving. You know, do any of that, all those festivities. And I don't know. The first deer I see is him and a doe. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I told everybody that was the only, you know, he was the only deer that I really wanted to shoot. And anyway, I should have stuck to my guns that year because he came.
He still killed 170 some inch monsters.
Yeah,
so.
172 that year. But he comes out and I'm like, there's no way. I was like, what's the odds, you know? And the bad thing was she didn't even come in the field. Like he fed within 20, I think it was 22 yards or something, and just sits there. You'll see the video there, and
Bunch of turnip or something.
chowing down. And I had to watch him. I don't know. It felt like for 20 minutes, but it was probably like maybe 2 minutes. But
Right.
it felt like forever. You know, I wasn't, you know, I don't really gun hunt, you know, out there too much. I go and shoot a doe or two, but I don't really, you know, get into areas where I thought I'd see him. And pictures start rolling in. He's out there 45 minutes to an hour, and there's someone that has a damn ground blind just right on the back side of one of my plots, and I was just waiting for, you know, because every day he'd come in there, it seemed like he was leaving that way, which I don't think he ever was, but it just seemed like that's the way he was walking. But I don't know if he's just going in there and then looping back around or what, because then I'd get him on the other side, you know, just after dark. So I think he obviously felt safe in there. We had, what, 2 more encounters. Well, late muzzler season, but he was out there all the time. You know, I don't know how many.
Well, I know
daylight pictures of
the
him.
one encounter, which I didn't get on video. I was with you.
Yeah.
Because
this is so dark.
I just happened to look up, and there was like a pine or cedar tree, and all I could see was a great big rack. And I'm like, Kyle, there he is. And you're like, you got him in your scope, and you asked me what time it was. And we had like 2 minutes left, and had he come straight up the hill, we probably could have. But he worked his way on the back side long enough that when you asked me what time it was next, it was like a minute or 2 after, and that's when you were like, I could shoot him, but it's too late, you know?
Well, and then the night before that, I had him out in the field, and it was like, I mean, we had a fresh blanket of snow. It was, you know, pretty light out. I had him out, you know, probably 30 or 40 yards that night, but I couldn't get no video. There was a bunch of brush in the way, but he was out there, and then by the time he cleared that brush, it was probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes after shooting light.
And then the last night that you went, like, we had heard a shot that night that I was with you.
Yeah.
And, or no, it was the last night.
It was the last
night of season you heard the shot.
Yeah, Marcus was with me that night.
And you were sweating like crazy because you never.
It wasn't that far away.
Right, and
I never seen any pictures of him there for a little while after that.
Yeah, and then so anyways, you've had several encounters.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're sweating because of the gunshot.
Right.
You know, and you're not getting the pictures. You're waiting.
I think it was like 2 weeks after season, I got a picture of him, so I knew he was still alive.
And then obviously, you know, we went and we shed on him, didn't find him. So rolling into this past season, 2021, we already knew what was going to happen. It was him or nothing. I mean, you'd already said it wasn't happening.
I wasn't going to do that. It was going to have to be something extremely big, and I mean, there was only one. There was a deer on another spot that I hunt that was maybe something close by, but it actually got shot too, and it was supposedly. I mean, he said it was a 180s deer, so it wouldn't have been as impressive as him, you know.
No, it's hard to be more impressive than the G2s and G3s on this thing are just real.
Yeah. So I said that, you know, he was it. It was, you know, that was gonna be it. And I think I went out and freshened my mineral at I don't remember, the beginning of July, and I put a camera up, and it was like the first picture that I got after I freshened that mineral up that night was him, you know, and I had it on cell, you know, I put a cell camera over it and stuff, and I was like, holy shit, you know, I sent you, we'll put that on here too, but you'll see that, it was like, holy smokes, and I was like, it's, you know, the closer and closer it got to season, multiple pictures, you know, and the closer and closer it got to season, I was like, you know what, I said, I think the reason why I wasn't seeing him last year is he's in this spot and was just sitting there watching me. So I just crossed that, didn't even, like, that stand's not even going to be a stand anymore. I need to pull it, move it, but yeah, it's so, I didn't hunt that, and I think the longest I went was maybe a week, I can't remember, without a picture.
It wasn't long.
On a cell camera. I had him on regular camera, longest I went without a cell camera picture was a week. I was dead set on going November 1st morning just because I had so many pictures of him close to daylight in the morning and stuff too. I was like, nope. I said November 2nd, it's supposed to, you know, that night it's supposed to be a frosty morning. And I was like, I'm just going to go in that November 2nd morning. And then it was just, as soon as I got in the stand, it was still dark and I knew there was a hot doe. I could hear, you know, the deer chasing. Nothing. I seen another nice buck, and I wanted to get a better look at it. And I was filming him. We can throw that, you know, we'll show that. You know, I grunted at him, and he didn't pay no attention. He went right in there where I seen some does bedded down over there earlier in the morning, and that's where he went. Well, got to looking back at the timestamps of the, you know, about the time that I shot him and, you know, that deer. And I grunted at that deer. He came in a spot where he shouldn't have, you know, no rhyme or reason why he came behind that stand. And there's a highway in front of me. And he was 17 yards away. And that's where he stopped. And the rest is history. I mean, that's
where the race got buried.
Yep. Nice quarter-and-away shot. Off shoulder.
Go ahead and pick it up.
I broke it.
Yeah, with all that bubbles in there. Here. Okay.
The sun's not making it very easy to find.
Right there. Right there on that leaf. I mean, I guess you followed this. Yeah, right there.
Yes! Look at that. Look at that.
Dude, that is a giant.
Holy shit. Unbelievable. 3 years.
Put your phone away. Get down there and put your hands on him. Holy cow, man.
Oh yeah. Incredible.